Welcome back to our series on smart core training here at the Med Gym. In weeks 1 and 2, I highlighted 2 exercises, one called the Pallof press and the other the curl up, exercises that promote strength, endurance, stability around the spine while not compromising spine health by doing things that twist and flex the back, which create instability at the spine. So today we want to talk about another factor in training the core without compromising spine health, and that's compressive loading on the spine. So when we talk about compressive loading on the spine, what we're talking about is exercises that recruit the muscles of the core but also add compressive loading that is excessive on the spine and thus can lead to injury. So when you're looking at a good core exercise, you want an exercise that recruits as much of the core musculature as you can so that you're training the core well, but also doesn't compromise the spine by creating excessive compressive loading on the spine. So exercises like the curl up that we talked about last week are specifically made to train the core muscles as much as we can without adding compressive load on the spine. For example, exercises like the sit-up have been shown by research that they've done on the core muscles and the loading on the spine to add about 3,300 newtons of compressive force on the spine. And if you don't know what newtons are, that's about 730 pounds of compressive force on the spine. So doing that repeatedly, time and time again, obviously is not a good recipe for success in long-term back health. So other exercises that create compressive loading on the spine, and even more than the sit-up, are exercises that train specifically the posterior spine, the muscles that run along the spine and the back extensors. And so today we want to talk about an exercise called the bird dog that we can use to train the back extensors without adding excessive compressive loading to the spine. So common exercises that train the back are things like back extensions, where you're either laying flat on the ground and extending the spine, or even if you've seen Roman chair back extensions, glute ham raises, where people kind of support their lower body and excessively extend through the back to train the back muscles. The problem with that is that those exercises have been shown to add about 4,000 newtons of compressive loading on the spine, so even more than a sit-up. Other exercises that train extension through the back are actually a popular exercise in both the clinical setting and in the gym called the Superman. The Superman is where you lay flat on the ground and you extend your arms and your legs off the ground at the same time, kind of like your Superman. The only problem with this exercise, while it does train the back muscles quite a lot, you also get up to 6,000 newtons of compressive force on the spine. It's about 1,300 pounds of force on the spine. And so doing that repeatedly is like having a cow repeatedly sit on your back. Obviously something you don't want for long-term spine health. And especially if you already have back pain or you have a compromised spine, these are not exercises that should be in your repertoire. So today we want to talk about a good alternative that can still train the back muscles for strength, endurance, and stability to support the spine, but don't add that same compressive loading on the spine to compromise health. So the bird dog, as I mentioned, is the way we like to train this. And to demonstrate this, I'll get up on the table and you're going to set up for this one kneeling. So you're going to go into a position, and it's called a bird dog because it's like a hunting dog pointing at a bird. So the full exercise is starting with a flat back, making sure you're not too round it, to extend it, flat back. You extend the opposite arm and leg straight out. You'll notice when I'm doing that I'm extending at the hip, at the shoulder, but I'm not rounding or arching my back, so I'm completely stable at the spine. So extending here, back down, back down. So a couple benefits of this exercise is that we can modify it to provide the right challenge. So we can either do one arm at a time, one leg at a time, or like I just showed you there, you can do opposite arm and leg. And what that does is, rather than recruiting all of the spine muscles at the same time like a Superman exercise, that recruits different compartments. So you get the upper left part of the back, the lower right part of the back, and that doesn't add the same amount of compressive load that recruiting all the spine muscles at the same time does. So we want to compartmentalize our back training so that we get one side of the back musculature working at a time. So the bird dog allows us to do that. Typically when we do it, we do sets of 6 to 8 repetitions. We can also add some challenge by going out and holding for about 5 seconds to create some endurance. We can add some movement at the arm and the leg to challenge the stability more. But Bird dog, a great exercise to train the posterior core, the back extensors, again without compromising spine health by excessive compressive loading on the spine.